Okay, welcome back everybody. For this video I'm going to be building the sump, and I wasn't planning on building the sump originally, but once I had it built and I got it and I saw that there was a gap in the silicone, a pretty large gap in two different places between the panes, I wanted to go ahead and redo it, and there was quite a bit of silicone in between for my taste. So I've never built a tank before, and this was definitely a trial by error process. I did mess up two panels and had to redo them. So it was somewhat annoying more than difficult to do. I'm using 3/8 inch glass, and right now I'm just prepping the surface. I'm going to wipe it down real good, make sure all of the edges, all the contact points are absolutely clean and free of dirt or debris. I'm going to start with the bottom piece of glass on a flat surface. That's why I'm using my table saw again. Underneath the bottom piece of glass, I'm going to line it with wax paper. That way when the silicone dries, it won't dry to the wood, it'll just dry to the wax paper, and it'll be really easy to pull off. My first step here is to make a tape border with some painter's tape. I'm going to make this border, that way whenever I lay down the silicone bead, I'll be able to pull the tape off and I'll have nice clean lines. Now I've got our dry fit with the corner clamps and I'm ready to silicone. So I'm going to take off one panel at a time, apply the silicone, and push it up against the base panel and then the side panels also. I'm using an aquarium silicone that you can find at your Home Depot or Lowe's. It's not ideal to use. For me, the small bottle really made it hard to lay down a continuous good bead because the silicone is just really thick. So that was a bit of a challenge. If you had a caulk gun with a 10-ounce tube, it would be a lot easier. And as I go around and assemble the panels, I'm going to use a small scab of wood and nail it to the plywood surface below the tank. That way it holds the base exactly where it needs to be, as the top's being held by the corner clamps. Once I've finished smoothing out the silicone, we can pull off the tape and we'll have nice clean lines. After 2 days of sitting, the silicone is cured, and I'm going to take a razor blade and just clean up all the edges on the outside and a little bit on the inside, and we'll flip it over, clean up the bottom, take the wax paper off and the wood scabs, and I'm going to set it down on the floor here, and we're going to do a water test. I'm just going to fill it up pretty close to the top, even though it's never going to have that much water in it as the sump. I want to test it. I want to put a lot of pressure on the bottom part. Now that the water test has been done, I've got the tank drained, and I'm going to start dry fitting the equipment in the sump to try to figure out what configuration I want. And what I end up settling on is a 3-chamber design. The first chamber will have the overflow water and the skimmer, and then that water will travel into the second chamber with the biopellet reactor, and then the third and final chamber will be the return pump going back into the system. I'm going to dry fit my parts here, measure out, and see what size pieces of acrylic I need. I'm going to use some 1/4 inch leftover pieces from a different project. And basically I just end up with needing 2 to form a T intersection with a little bit of a divot cut out for the water flow to keep it falling into the third chamber directly from the first chamber. I'm going to use an MEK solution. It's a plastic weld compound to bond these two pieces of plastic together. And now we're going to use our silicone again and adhere the plastic dividers directly into the sump against the glass. And we'll spread out nice even beads just like we did for the corners of the actual tank itself. I forgot to drill some holes at the bottom of the first divider between the first chamber and the second chamber. So you won't see that in the video. I had to go back and do those afterwards. Here's one more look with the equipment installed with the dividers in place. And that's it for this video. The sump's pretty much done from this point. When I show the plumbing of the actual tank, I'll show how I do the sock holder made out of acrylic to go in the sump right in front of the skimmer. Thank you again for watching.